Rock Davis says, talk about the geometry and spirituality. Hmm. Um, Geometry is the language of the universe. Shapes, numbers, vibration. Especially when you get into what is known as cymatics, and those are tone. You got to understand vibration. I mean, that's what Nikola Tesla said, that everything is vibration, and you want to understand the universe, understand vibration. I have tons of sacred geometry on me, the flower of life, the all kinds of stuff, elemental charts and stuff. Um, and most of you guys know this, but for those who don't, definitely look up the 7 Hermetic Principles. It's talking about the laws of vibration as well. Words are vibration. We think a thought, then we speak it, and our vocal cords vibrate, and our mouth and tongue shapes the way that it sounds, and we push it out. So we're basically having these thoughts, vibration is happening, and then we speak it out and push it into the universe. Sounds, the music that we listen to, different frequencies of notes and music carry vibrations with them, vibrational frequencies, right? You can do the math, and I want one of these, man. There's a bunch of DIY stuff online where you can make it yourself, but there's a way that you can measure the waves of the cymatics. So we can put on tones, and if you turn it up loud enough, you could put salt down, you could put sand down, even water will do it, but you have to have it on the right basis with like a speaker under a cylinder. And as you put that on there and you play the tones, the water and the sand or whatever will take a shape. It will turn into a geometric pattern. And everything that makes you feel good, like all the resonance that makes you feel good, they're usually beautiful tones, 432, really pleasant frequencies, and they make you feel good when you hear it. It's just a tone, a key. Bible talks about the key of David, right? So when you look into cymatics, let me see here. I know I could share it for you, all of you guys watching online. Let's just see. I think it's this one. Okay, so if you can see here, this is cymatics. So this is the water. In this case, it's probably ice. You can actually freeze these, like play the tones and freeze them, and it takes the form of what we would call geometry, sacred geometry, pleasant geometry, geometrical patterns. That when you change the notes, see here, this is one that somebody made, and they showed you what note that they played to get that shape. And this is through sound and vibration. All sounds. Now, if you play heavy metal and screaming and stuff, like, I think there's room for that. I was listening to some good metal this morning, but the geometry is not going to be geometric. It's going to be crazy. It's going to the shape is going to look like confusion. A lot of sharp edges with the geometry as well. But when you're playing these beautiful tones, you get this beautiful sacred geometry. Again, vibration, which is the language of the universe. There's one there's so many videos. I don't want to play the videos of people doing it because I'll probably get pulled or whatever. But look that up. Sound art, vibration, tones, music, all is a resonance. And it'll make that shape. The same way when we're speaking, communicating, everything is moving, everything is vibration. Again, there's just your start with sacred geometry and symbols, right? It's beautiful. That's where it comes from. Let's see, where? Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay, I'm like clicking on all kind of stuff. Here we go. I'm back. So sacred geometry is beautiful, man. Chris Jeremiah says music is programming for the mind. Again, it puts you, man, there's just so much. We're just like, I have a lot of friends who are ascending into the heavenly courts, and they put on that music and ride that frequency, ride that tone. I believe that somebody even said that they were talking about the ringing in the ears that people have sensed, right? And I'll give you the mystical background on that. The tones that you sense in your ears, I've sensed it ever since I was a kid. Supposedly, the medical term is tinnitus. But I don't think like that's tinnitus is something totally different. That's like being in a big crowd of people and always hearing it. It's when you get alone, you get by yourself. There's no movement, and you just hear this loud ringing that takes over your ears. And it's said, the mystical tradition is that you can travel. You can time travel the ethers, travel to heaven with intention and going on and listening to that note, focusing on it and traveling. And there's a lot of Egyptian tradition. Again, you guys know who are watching live, I have my Celebi puppet or doll from Pokemon, and that's what that represents to me, because it represents synchronicity. And the fact that when I first heard about that, I was watching 2012 Enigma with David Wilcock, and I heard that for the first time. And then the next day I'm watching Pokemon with my daughter, the Pokemon movie, and this little guy Celebi is like powerful, and they were all trying to capture him, and because if you capture him, you get power. You capture the Pokemons or whatever. So, in the movie, they were all chasing these guys, and trying to catch them, the bad guys. And then they say, "There's Celebi," and they grab Celebi, and Celebi begins to sing, in a tone starts to resonate, and they all focus. They said, "Focus on the tone, and we can time travel." Everyone focused on the tone and was able to time travel to another place. And I just found that was like one of the first big synchronicities for me to hear it back to back like that, right? So that's why I have that Celebi to deal with that. That's what it reminds me of God just speaking through synchronicities. Rock also says, gemstones, legit spiritual connections. All right, yeah, man. Crystals, gemstones, the legit spiritual connections. You really got to understand. First of all, I would say understand it from a scientific perspective and what crystals and gemstones do. Why are they here? Like, and why spiritual people, not even spiritual people, go look at the army. Look at why the army would use them in the military, that they did training videos and documentaries on the power of crystal and how to conduct energy through it. And each different crystals hold a different frequency as well and a different vibration. The Army's got a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of old stuff you can find on YouTube where the Army's breaking this stuff down. And then maybe look at the spiritual significance of it, understand that. And then us as believers will go back to the Bible and see that for each tribe, they had a specific stone that represented that tribe. You can actually hold these things and they make you feel a certain type of way. They release a different resonance for them. Christ Jeremiah is even going back to Enoch, right? Enoch has some stuff about crystals and stuff like that too. But from the Bible, we look at each tribe had a certain emerald or crystal or rock or stone that set them apart, that represented them. And the priest would make these. So essentially it changed your vibration as well as you have these stones. Some of them block EMF frequencies. Like it's proven. You can watch videos online where they have electromagnetic frequencies that are coming from your router, from your microwave, from the television, your cell phone. And if you put that stone on there, there's a tester and it'll block the reception. You can't read it anymore. So that it has to deal with frequency. So the priest had this thing that they called an ephod, and it was a special breastplate that they would take all the stones, one that represented each of the 12 tribes, and they would put them on the breastplate, and they would wear their priestly garments, and it put them in a vibrational frequency where they were able to commune with God. It put them in a state where they were able to commune. It raised their vibration to a certain level to do that. And so the priests wore the ephods. Again, when we look into magicians or we look into kings and queens, they represent what they represent. They would use crystals at the end of their scepters, as they would speak with intention and hold forth the scepter with the crystal on the end, sending intentions or casting spells, even, or even just ruling from a place of authority. They have control over the people. And then we look at the crown, right? The crowns that the kings wore, which are essentially an ephod for the head. So they have these different diamonds and jewels and rupees. I'm talking about why they were created. Now you have them, they're just like as a position of royalty and just adorned with great jewels. But the spiritual significance of it from a biblical perspective. And there's a bunch more too. But that's the basis of where to start, to say, hold on, this stuff is in the Bible. Again, we're talking about incense. I got some beautiful darshan burning behind me. I think it's out now. But in the scriptures, the priests would burn incense, and as they would pray, they would believe that it carried their prayers up to heaven. So they would pray, and as the smoke rose, it carried their prayers to the Father. And so that's what they believe. If that was legit, if it really was a part of that, if your prayers were tied to that smoke, I don't know, who knows, but they believe that. And even if it's symbolic as well. So here we have the priest and things like that using incense, crystals. I mean, where else do we go? There's just so much stuff, man, that they use that we've been told is taboo or not of God because the pagans used it. Well, the pagans have taken over everything. You can't even use a rainbow now. We're talking about that this morning. If I'm sitting here with a rainbow shirt on, it's going to send a sign and a signal to somebody, a rainbow bracelet, a rainbow sticker on my car. So to find out where these things came from, and to the pure, all things are pure. But other people will see that, and because their mind is not pure, to the unpure, all things are unpure. I know y'all know those people. Everything's demonic. There's a demon behind everything. If you meditate, you're going to get possessed by a demon. If you got crystals, demons hang around crystals. Like, what scripture is that? You know what I'm saying? And it's to understand that our bodies, to understand frequencies, that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Again, we can play the music right now, and it's going to make you feel a certain type of way. There's music from your favorite bands out there that people have taken and taken the frequency and changed the pitch to the 432 frequency. And whatever song that is, when you hear it, it makes you feel better. Like just them playing those notes make you feel good. You don't know why. It's your favorite songs on the radio. Then you say, man, what is this, man? Well, how does this relate to the Bible? What's your scriptural basis? Well, my scriptural basis is going back to looking at King David. Saul was overcome with evil spirits, and the only time that he found solace was when David was playing the harp before him. David is a psalmist, a man after God's own heart. So there's his intention when he plays. He's playing with intention. He's playing the harp before God. The notes and things that you play, it makes you feel better. I can't tell you, coming out of deep, dark witchcraft, making pacts with demons, and it was a very long road, and I would be uneasy in many situations. I couldn't be around large groups of people. I would freak out in my head. Me and my wife would be eating in a restaurant out of town, and I had to go sit in the car. I had to leave the table and go sit in the car and pray and put on worship music because I was not comfortable in my body because of those spirits. I would tap in through the worship music, and those spirits would subside. That's the power in worship and knowing who we are created in the heavenly realms. So King David would do that. He would play the harp. He would worship the Lord in front of Saul, and the spirits would subside. They would leave. They couldn't be there as long as he was changing the atmosphere, playing the worship music. Again, let's even go a little bit historically, looking at the work of Pythagoras, man. Pythagoras, I love his stories because he's got some very similar stories. And so Pythagoras, to me, I don't like Pythagoras because of Pythagoras. I like Pythagoras because it proves, it's some type of historical proof that proves the scriptures. Okay, thy word is truth. Here's an example. Pythagoras. Man, Pythagoras had this sect, right? So they were these set apart people who really believed in the power of music. Again, when we look at music theory and string theory, that comes from, the Pythagorean theorem in the music of the spheres. If you've ever heard that, reading music comes from Pythagoras. He made that. He was I don't know if I'd call him a pagan, but he wasn't a Christian, right? But there's something peculiar about those guys. They were a set apart people. They had some belief systems that were a little bit different. And one was they were really given over to music. And this will change your life. There's some truth to this. Pythagoras, the Pythagoreans, him and his sect, when they woke up in the morning, they sung worship songs to God, to the Creator. They started every day with praises to the Creator. They ended every day just the same. Now, when it comes to what they don't do, as far as music is concerned, and we're talking about, remember I mentioned heavy metal a while ago and these beautiful tones and these beautiful frequencies that change the way you feel, they were forbidden. He forbade his sect to use cymbals on the drums, because the cymbals and the crash, this loud, shocking noise, they would not allow that because it messed up your frequency. And it was like a shock to they tell you not to scare kids because it makes them on edge. It does. No loud noises, no sudden scaring your kids and stuff like that. Don't do it. And so they didn't do that. He forbade them to use cymbals. One of the stories about Pythagoras using music to change the vibration and frequency of the people was the fact that there was a story where there was a bunch of people in the town. It was really late at night, and there was a guy who was coming home from a bar, and he was drunk, and they're walking down the street. Pythagoras was playing a really aggressive song, a really aggressive melody on his flute, and this guy who's walking down the street, the story says that he got into it with one of a local homosexual, is what the story says. And he got mad. Homosexual. He was trying to fight him. The guy's at his door, banging on the door, trying to get in, wanting to fight him. Right? And so Pythagoras is playing this really aggressive tempo in the tones and stuff. And then, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Pythagoras. It was somebody else playing it. And then Pythagoras told the gentleman to change the pitch and play something soft and soothing. So the dude changed what he was playing from the wisdom of Pythagoras, and the guy who was all riled up, he immediately gained his composure and walked away once the pitch was changed and the frequency was changed. We look at that, the power of music. The power of music. Look at the story of the Pied Piper who comes in to the city. They have a rat infestation. And he comes into the city and they hire the Pied Piper to play his magical flute, which he can get all the rats to follow him and bring them out of the city. So he does. They hire him for the job. He comes in, he plays the flute. All the little mice come marching out of the town together. They're all marching. He rids the town of the mice. Well, he comes to get payment. He's already performed his duty. They don't want to pay him. Well, we don't have enough money, whatever the excuse was. They didn't pay him. And he was angry. He was furious. So he uses his flute. He plays the song of the day and ends up taking all their children as payment. He gets all the children to follow him out of the city as well when they're asleep. Didn't even know it. These stories and things like that show us the power of music. And most of us we just have our own experiences. We put our jam on, we put our song on, and it just brings us there. A lot of those songs for me, I have songs that I don't listen to a lot because I don't want it to lose its power. I know when I need a word, I'm going to go to that song. Then again, I got songs that as soon as I put them on, I've been playing Rick Pino a lot lately. This one song, actually, there's 3 songs in a sequence that I play, but Your Love Is Like by Rick Pino, Dove's Eyes, and I Will Search. Those 3 songs, It's like clockwork. I mean, there's a bunch of them over the years that I know and then even the older ones, man, I'll put on some older music from like, man, 15, 20 years ago, and they immediately bring me back into this place where I was at my early walk with the Lord. I just time travel right back there. I just get in his presence. I just remember when I first met him, you know. And so there's so much music that does that. And so I'm grateful that my music is being used now to facilitate that for other people, to go deeper in their spiritual walk, to take them on ecstatic experiences with God and the possibilities that it opens up. So music has the ability to essentially open up a portal, change the vibration, change the atmosphere around you through music. It's important. Very much so.